As we move to the burner, this is your diesel tank. Obviously don't put gasoline in it, diesel only.
How big is that tank?
18 gallons.
Nice.
Yes. This machine uses about 1.5 gallons of diesel an hour. Your standard burners are burning 4 to 5. So this thing will sip it.
Be lucky if we were getting out.
Yeah, yeah. This is your diesel filter. It acts also as an oil water separator. You can, unless if you know what you're doing with diesel filters, take it to a shop, but there is a bleed off here, so if there's a ton of water in the bottom, that's what that's for. There is a reset for the burner itself. That's basically your...
It's a 115 volt model, so it
Yes.
runs off the generator. It's not a 12 volt model,
Okay.
which is the huge benefit
Yeah.
on there.
It
We're pretty
burns.
familiar with burners at the moment. I mean,
Yeah. So you know that
one of our last ones.
here's one of the things to have on it. The motor is driven by the electricity, 115 volt. There's a blower fan in here. There's a connector in between this to drive the fuel pump. So all your spark air and fuel are all in one. Igniter's on top.
Okay.
That's really more for that, but in general.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, because it is 115 volt, use about 1.5 gallons of diesel an hour. Just because it's turning faster, it's much more efficient.
Well, I've got a lot more than that involved. The other thing is all the redundant safety devices to prevent that thing from superheating. More to the other side, we'll get to that, but there's a lot into the prevention of a steam explosion, which can actually pretty much put us in the intensive cure-off for if this monster superheated and exploded. So that's easy to see.
Superheated, like if you're just, the water's flowing too fast, or
If we
Other way,
actually,
so it's too slow and it
slow.
flashes to steam.
Okay.
yeah, if you actually there's a demonstration video where they allowed a little electric 1,000 PSI pressure washer, same category, but electric powered mini guy get superheated. When the steam explosion occurred seconds later or X amount of time later, it hit 14,000 pounds of pressure. This entire unit blew apart. The machine completely flipped over. It looked like there was a stick or two of dynamite inside it. So there's some Mickey Mouse setups that have maybe a flow switch that shuts the heat off when it has no flow or pressure. Very minimal redundant safety devices. This had them all. This had pressure switch, no pressure, no heat, flow, no heat, high limit switch, which is, in this case, it's an adjustable thermostat, still at the high limit switch. And then it had steam burst relief valve, there's pressure relief valve built into the system. This has by far the most redundant. This is just under 600,000 BTU diesel fired burner. It's high heat, and that's also kind of weird when you go bigger like that to get more fuel efficiency because it heats so quick. Doesn't need to run, 50 minutes out of the hour to keep the heat going. But we'll get on that side. I just wanted to, since this is a burner, it's good to introduce all the safety devices, and
absolutely.
it's a little bit more. One or two little issues could occur to a safety switch, but to have it is really securing your equipment and your lives. I mean, it's really, there's no shortcuts or skimp on any part of the system you guys got.
I like that. First time I heard about this superheating and blowing up from the steam buildup, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
It's on our minds.
We even have a steam pressure burst disc on here, so if at about 8,000 PSI, that burst disc will rupture and it blows off the steam pressure, preventing that extreme explosion.
That was what happened to the rental we had.
That is.
Pressure relief valve, it was sitting idle.
Spraying everything.
Yeah.
Those are nice fail safes. I mean,
They
just
are.
in case
Well,
everything
yeah,
else fails.
when our other trailer was down, we had to rent a little unit to get us through some of our routes. And within a day, the pressure relief valve blew on me, and it was sitting idle. We were setting something up, and all of a sudden, bam, that thing just took off, and this steam comes rolling out. And it happened, we still had the same rental unit 2 weeks later, and it happened again.
That's not, yeah, that's having a service or
Well,
facility that doesn't know how to.
they found a flow problem with the flow shut off on the burner, so they had to replace
Yeah,
that.
that's flow switch, yep. We can walk around
Yep.
to that side, show you those safety switches and everything.
Really quick, because you mentioned it on the other side, you might be able to see it well. Those black boxes going underneath those rails, those are your resets. So when I mentioned on the other side, that's what
They're all waterproof, right? You got a stupid question.
Right.
Waterproof.
We did all this safety stuff to put those on.
So basically, and I know I'm gonna mess these up. First of all, this is your unloader spring. Basically, when you let go of the gun, what it does is it trips the spring and it will return low pressure back to the tank. When it does that, it is bypassing your burner, so the burner shuts off. Second is the flow switch. Basically what that does is when you let go of the gun and you trip the unloader valve, flow stops, it cuts the burner. This is where I'm going to screw this up. This is your temperature regulator? Pressure switch, yes. No pressure, no heat, correct?
Correct.
Sweet.
And that's pressure on the gun, that's where you know that you have power. So that's why it's important not to have just a pressure switch, because there could be pressure on the gun all the time. And that's where the flow switch kicks in. So it kind of knows both ways that you're activating. Traditionally, it takes enough pressure, even if the gun was open, say a hose without, just running the hose. That pressure switch is designed not to kick on at super low pressure.
It's not good to mess with this at all, the pressure. I mean.
No, you shouldn't have to. You can just change the spray nozzles in order to go 1 gun, 2 gun, high volume. If you need to drop the pressure for a canvas or something, you just do it all by nozzle size. You really shouldn't adjust the unloader because it's not backing it off is when you reset it. 1/2 a turn too much can increase your pressure by like 1,000 pounds or more.
Yeah.
We've had to upgrade our unloaders.
Well, that's one thing about these are the best of the best that I've
Just
dealt
have to
with for
use
30 plus years.
The yellow and the white tips go to the 15s or the.
Well, not only that, there's the orifice side on nozzles. So you actually have, like this, you can run 9 gallon a minute with a number 9 nozzle at 3,500, or 2 operators would have to use 4.5 gallons or 4.5 nozzles.
That's nice.
And we'll dial that into, and then when you want to drop the pressure, you just go with a bigger tip. And
Or that's where the release gun comes in, the pressure release gun.
that can help somewhat, yeah, if you can get those going a little bit with the pressure adjustment on there.
When I do soft wash and I don't want to hit it with all that pressure, I want to just.
Actually, with this machine, that would be actually convenient because even a low pressure nozzle like a chem tip is almost still too big for this power plant. So by having that extra nozzle in the gun of a dual wand, that'll actually help you to bring down the pressure even more.
Yeah.
This does have what they call a cool bypass. So when you do shut the gun off, that bypass mode he mentioned is only letting cold water get back to the tank, which is important. And as long as you got water in the tank, you're not going to overheat your pump. So.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to run hot water through the pumps.
Exactly. The final thing with this, it is all mounted with a single GIC fitting. So if somebody has to service that, they can disconnect right here and the whole assembly comes right out.
Yeah, when you get a service center and they go, man, I don't have time to change your motor or pressure switches, just come out for 1 second. Look how well engineered this is.
Just take a look.
You're like, oh crap, that's going to take me 10 minutes. Let me get you in and out of here, because otherwise some of these take like 2 hours just to get to the switch. Nobody wants to touch it unless they have the time. The other thing is you do have a pump pressure relief valve on the bottom there.
Yes.
Pop off.
Yes. Yeah, that was the last one I forgot. Your burst disc is right located back here.
Looks like a hose barb.
Go buy a socket that fits that before it fails. If you have to try and take that out with an adjustable wrench,
This huge one.
it's
So
not
we got
gonna be
right
fun
there?
day.
Yeah.
It's
Trust me,
Not fun.
we had to readjust that when a client was coming, already here, and they were rushing, and they had locked a bunch of boxes at the old shop, so me and the other guy were trying to do the conversion, and Took like an hour to get that darn thing off. I should have just ran to Home Depot and picked up a socket and been done. Kind of a diehard at it. So by all means, having a deep socket set, something convenient.
Okay.
And that is the one valve that can pop off like that. Now, if you ever did have a pop off on a job, could be because you're low on water and you're still driving, doing sidewalks or strip center, or do something. Could be a little weird happening that could happen one time a year. If you install a new one on and it pops off immediately again, shut down, don't even think of finishing the job or plugging it. But a lot of times just replacing that, the one time may last another year without a problem.
You set us up with a spare.
Already did.
Right on.
Fantastic.
So let me just show that up here. It's a little easier, the brass fitting.
Well, we're over here.
One other thing while you're on this side, yep.
Yep.
The thermostat control on the front actually ties in right to the probe in here that reads your outlet temperature here. So in general, you have a thermostat on their OEM equipment, even if you don't do it yourself, but that's where they tap in to the front thermostat. That's where it knows what the temperature is. They're having that probe, which there should be one in there. What's nice is having that's your pop-off valve, yep. That's your pressure switch.
Yep. This is the pressure relief.
What's good is when you're on the road a lot, as much as you guys are, it's nice to be able to have the original thermostat, because there could be a 3-wire, and then next thing you know, I had that down in Charlotte helping a guy with his equipment after 16-hour driving trying to get to a trade show. Spent 8 hours there updating his equipment and all, but it was different than this. But it was a bear because he had these like 5-wire, you don't know which probes go where, so if I have an OEM equipment, it's like instantly just take a photo of the way it came off, we wire it, have it put back. Even if they're there and they're like, well, I don't want to use your parts, and just say, look, order me a new one of these to replace it in my kit, but put an OEM in there. I don't want you jerry-rigging all my wiring harness to make it work.
Yeah.
And they'll probably like it too, because they get in and out. It's a plug and play and go, and they are able to keep it standardized.
It's complex, but
Simple at the same time.
I like it.
As we move away from the pressure washer, this is your winterizing tank.
So,
Basically, to go into winterizing mode, just simply push the valve.
okay.
Moving it back this way is for normal operation, so you'll be drawing from the tank.
Be good if we can get a supply and winterizing sticker for that before they leave.
Yes, I will get that label for you guys.
No problem.
The next thing.
Is that an 18-gallon tank as well?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yep, and well, gasoline only.
It'll run for 3 days.
Yes.
Good.
This is a strainer filter. We put a shutoff on there so that with the tank full, you can actually check it.
Okay.
If for whatever reason, if you say, or if you come to us or call us and say, hey, when we squeeze the trigger, pressure drops, I'm probably going to tell you to check your
ring.
Yeah, that O-ring. That's
Okay,
why
so
we
out
have that
before.
extra valve. Yeah, when the tank is full, go look on putting one of them caps back on.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
That's why it's nice
does
to
that
have.
quickly.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is we had one of those go out, the mechanic couldn't figure it out, and I pulled the filter. It was in line off the tank on the little Landa, and I pulled it off, and there was no rubber seal there. And I told the guy, that's it. This is the problem.
Because the water was leaking out of it, so it's like if it's coming out,
Yeah.
the air's obviously getting in, and that's the
It tells you
problem.
how important it is to,
Yes.
to seal
That's
this
the one
stuff
factor
up.
too. You see this in a shop warehouse, in a parking spot, you want to do an inspection around the whole thing, make sure nothing drips or leaks. Like you just indicated, a tiny drip is a huge vacuum leak,
Yeah.
and it may cavitate the pump and do a lot of damage throughout
Yeah.
the system. The one thing about the diesel fuel tank too, we do have the big double carbon filters on
Yes.
there.
You are California carb emission compliant.
Nice.
There
Yes.
we go.
Yeah, with a pain, because each one of those are only good for maybe a 10-gallon tank, so we had to go double to be able to get the larger tank, but it's more convenient for you guys, so might as well add it. So there's a lot of things that people think, oh wow, a little more expensive. Well, there's reasons why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just jump to the 18-gallon tank without going through another $250 worth of carbon emission systems on top of the carbon
Yeah.
emission system.
So
So
those need to be replaced.
they don't often. I've never seen one yet.
Really?
So I'm assuming yes down the road, but for right now, I've never run into an occurrence of it yet.
Okay.
Sounds that.
Next is your hose reels.